Woo-hoo. What an ending. What's going on, everybody? This is the Hoops Rehab Show. I'm your host, Game Injury Doc, a.k.a. Dr. Evan Jeffries. On my right is Eric B. Mack. This is the live after show. How you doing, Eric?
I was about to take a nap, just praying for no OT, right? Late night, obviously, here even in the California. What is it, 10:30? It's probably our latest start ever, maybe.
Oh, yeah, for sure. The NBC times are just outrageous, man. When they were having games start at 8, and then this game pretty much started at 7:45. Yeah. We know we're going to have another game tomorrow night just like this. But, Eric, what a game, man.
Yeah, man.
That was Well, you know what? We had a lot of good game twos so far, especially with the Knicks in Atlanta. And then, obviously, we all know about the Raptors and Cavs. We can wrap that one up. But we'll recap that a little bit in a little bit later.
Maybe just a bit.
But let's dive right into the Nuggets in Minnesota. So we've known these two teams have played in the playoffs. They've played each other tough.
Yeah.
This year seemed a little different because you had Anthony Edwards kind of limping into the playoffs, like seriously limping into the playoffs because of his knee injury, just like what Steph has, a runner's knee. Jaden McDaniel's been banged up. Minnesota's not as deep, but they still have been hanging in there throughout the season and still has shown the ability to play well. Yeah. What were your thoughts, and did you think Minnesota was going to get a win today?
Yeah, when these two teams play, whether if it was in the playoffs a couple of years ago, or even last year in the regular season, they had some battles. They didn't face each other last year in the playoffs, but it's always like just toe to toe. You know, it's close games, and so I thought, let's say if Denver was going to win this, I thought it would be one of these like 5-game, 6-game series that are all tough games. So early on, it looked like a beat up Minnesota team. I was even kind of saying to myself, oh man, like Minnesota has kind of played with fire the last couple of seasons, getting a 6 seed, you know, for example, turning it on in the playoffs, kind of having the same type of regular season this year as a 6 seed. And I was thinking they just cannot continue to turn it on and off. I think they aren't as deep as they were. Some of the same guys, injuries, but then wouldn't you know it, a big second quarter run. They were up 8. Denver went on a little run, and it was a tied game at half. Nonetheless, Minnesota definitely, I would imagine they would have taken a tie game just the way the game started. And it was a great second half. It could have gone either way. There was a lot of aggression, big plays, Jamal Murray, Joker with a slam dunk that I feel like I haven't seen in a long time.
Gobert had a dunk right before that too, so it's kind of wild.
Had some big minutes. Surprised to see him kind of in there down the stretch, but I think it goes to show when these two teams meet each other, it's fun. It's a fun ride, and I could see this going 6 or 7. Maybe definitely 6, but I could see it going 7.
Yeah, I mean the game was physical from the get-go, right? So a lot of physicality in this game. You saw a team like Minnesota that just did not want to go down 0-2.
Yeah.
And they put the clamps down on Joker in the first half. Like, he was off regardless too, but he only had 6 points in the first half. Comes out in that third quarter and just goes crazy. Has about, I think he had 14 in the third. Kind of regained the momentum, took the lead, but then Minnesota fought back, man. They had a huge stretch by Naz Reid. He had some big points, big buckets, was even got an and one staring at his bench and was talking a bunch of shit to somebody on his bench. Because I don't know if they said to not shoot it or whatever he was doing, but he was, and like Austin Rivers pointed it out too. He was pretty upset with the bench there. So yeah, it was cool to see. They showed a lot of fight. I definitely see this series, obviously going 6 or at least 7. My thing with Denver, right? And I still think Denver is a really strong team in the West, and I still think they're going to give San Antonio some trouble. They could possibly give OKC some trouble. I just don't think they have the defense to win a championship, right? So they've been, bottom of the barrel in the NBA in defense all year, right? Yes, they're the number 1 offensive team, but eventually that catches up with you, especially when you got teams like OKC that do both, top 5 in both. San Antonio, top 5 in both. Boston, top 5 in both, right? So you got teams that can do that. And that's my only hiccup with them. I just don't think they have the capabilities of playing defense down the stretch, right? And you can see that, Minnesota was able to get to the basket pretty easily. They weren't really deterred down there. We all know that Joker's an all-world player, but he's not the greatest defensive player, right? He's not going to move as well. He knows how to create space that he plays well with a unit, but they have nobody that's going to be blocking shots. And I think a team like Minnesota, who Anthony Edwards is going to attack the basket, Julius Randle is going to attack the basket, McDowell's going to attack the basket. You got all these, even DiVincenzo is going to attack the basket. So you got players that are going to attack versus a team that doesn't like to be attacked. So I think that's where the hiccup is going to be, even if, we can't guarantee they're going to get past Minnesota at this point.
Right. Yeah, I've been pretty bullish on Denver, and I see that as a team that I can see definitely going to the Western Conference Finals and then giving OKC all they can handle. But at the same time, it's like I feel if they get to the finals and win it, it's going to be one of the toughest roads or routes to get there. If you got to go through Minnesota, San Antonio, OKC, and Boston, now that I'm kind of thinking about that, what they got to do, it makes me even think more so that it's going to be tough and almost near impossible. It's weird. They're going to be a team that I wouldn't be surprised if they lose to Minnesota, but I also wouldn't be surprised if they go to the finals. And I don't know if you feel the same, and it's not at all to your point on the defensive side, but isn't there a difference between having Michael Porter Jr. or Cam Johnson kind of out on the floor? Because there was like some spots where Cam Johnson could have hit a big three, could have made a big play and kind of separated themselves from Minnesota. And I don't know if you remember years past, MPJ would kind of hit that big shot. Not to put it all on Cam, but there is a difference there.
I just don't see a star factor in Cam, right? So he's a great role player, a player that you'll need on a team to hit some threes here and there.
Yep.
But there's not that much you're going to get out of him, right? Like his max potential. Like Porter, you could count on him playing pretty damn good defense, and then also, if you need him to get 25 one night, he will.
He'll do it.
You need him to get 30 one night, he will. Right. So there's a huge difference in terms of like talent wise. I think they've figured out how to mesh together as a team, which has helped. And I think they have some chemistry with Cam Johnson and all that stuff. And they've, added the Hardaway kind of come off the bench, things like that. That's kind of helped the team.
A decent, yeah.
Yeah, but like you said, like if you need a bucket down the stretch, you're either going to Jamal Murray or Joker, and you don't really have that Porter option.
Yeah. It's just something I can't say, watched every Denver game. We just obviously followed him from afar, but there were a few moments that I was like, oh man, like MPJ probably hits that shot or makes that play. And so it is what it is. They obviously been pretty good. They're deeper, I guess you can say, last year, but that's figuring Peyton Watson being there, and he hasn't been there obviously with the hamstring. And so I don't know what his prognosis is, but I think that's pretty big that he's been out.
Yeah, that was a big player to have out because he had such a great season, kind of stepped up. It's similar to Luka, right? Like he strained his hamstring earlier, was a grade 1, came back, played a couple games, and then I re-aggravated it, right? So probably turned into a grade 2. And that was April 1st. So he is probably on that same type of timeline where it's like
same day as Luka.
He probably needs about 4 weeks, and likely it's going to be hard for him to kind of return this series. There hasn't really been any updates on whether or not he would make it back, but he's a big player for them. Like if they don't have him, their defense is not as good as well too, because he's one of their better defensive players there.
Yeah, no, definitely. Like I just, was saying that they're deeper, but that's with him there because he does just a lot. And, I'd probably look at the stat sheet. He probably doesn't fill them as much as you would like on the points and things like that. But he is like long, he's athletic, and is a guy they're missing, and not having him this series, it's going to be tough. I mean, I could see it kind of probably maybe a split in Minnesota, see something like that, right? Maybe coming back 2-2, and then it'll be a best of 3. And so it's went from, probably panic time for the T-Wolves to, hey, we got a series.
Yeah, definitely got a series. So that game will go to Minnesota. They go to game 3, and that's going to be a pivotal game. They always say playoffs don't start until somebody wins on the road. They won on the damn road. So playoffs have started for them.
Yeah.
Now let's get into the bigger topic of the day. We got some update on Kevin Durant and it being pretty much a game time decision for game 2.
Yep.
Originally heard that he bumped knees. It was just a knee contusion, kind of knee bruise. And then you find out, well, where he was hitting the knee was more on a tendon, which was the patellar tendon, which can be more problematic because of the pain and also just causing inflammation and basically causing that knee to stiffen and be less range of motion and all that good stuff. Once I said that, then you get a little bit more concerned about, like, can he actually come back? And if he does, what's he going to be like on the court, right? It's going to be a pain tolerance issue, and whether or not he can play through it is going to be the question.
Yeah, it's big news. I mean, I know you on the post game a couple of nights ago, you and Ryan Ward, who obviously joined the show, were talking about it potentially happening in practice. And I remember thinking, like, man, did that really happen in practice, or was it some play towards the end of the season and we just maybe just weren't aware of it? But it sounds like it did, right? And so, I mean, you guys talked about it. We talked about it when I jumped on Saturday. For him to miss game 1 of the playoffs, I mean, there had to be something. Yeah. Now, I mean, you never want to take games for granted. Do they think, like, well, let's not force them game 1. We can probably still win the series if we lose game 1. I don't know. But I'm assuming even if he plays, it's probably damn near impossible that he's going to be close to 100%, right?
No, he won't. And, they showed him at practice today, and he has a pretty unique tape job on there. So they're trying to do everything to make it feel better, maybe lift the patella a little bit. It looked like he had what we call like kinesio tape, which is more the tape that allows you to move better. But he also under that had more like the harder type of tape, like a McConnell taping. So that's probably to put his kneecap in the right position to allow less force onto that tendon to hopefully alleviate pain. Right. So he's going to have some heavy duty type of tape job, of sleeve and all that to keep it warm. To be honest, we're going to have to know whether or not he's having, like, he's able to make his, like, my thing is, if I was a PT, right, I'm on the team and medical director or whatever you want to call it on the team, and you see him going through pregame and he can't make all the right moves, the right spots at this point, then it's going to be very, very difficult for him to play actual game. And you put him at risk for further injury, not just the knee. Like, I'm not really worried about the patellar tendon. I'm not really worried about that. I'm worried about other types of injuries that can happen down the stream or up the chain. So that's the biggest concern right there. I think we'll just know more tomorrow when he warms up. But I would be shocked if he doesn't try to play, just because it's game 2 and knowing the stakes. If they go down 0-2 going to Houston, it doesn't look good.
Yeah, I mean, I know you often talk about whether with different injuries that we've seen where it could affect another the person playing, it could affect another body part or make it worse. So I was kind of interested to hear that. And yeah, I gather, I mean, this is kind of, their season in a way. I mean, obviously if they go down 0-2, I'm sure they'll feel confident going back home. But I must say, if this series doesn't have Durant, I probably, if not a toss up, but almost favor the Lakers. And so I think the Houston Rockets really do need Durant. They need him at a pretty healthy clip. And so, as you said, will he give it a go just because of the stakes? Most likely. But it does sound like, as you just mentioned, that there is some concern of maybe potential additional injury because of it.
Yeah, I mean,
or just heard it worse. Or
Durant's been here before, right? So remember, obviously, the calf strain in Golden State, comes back, first game, tears the Achilles, right? So not to say that that's in the back of his mind, but anytime you're hampered on one side, you're going to compensate on the other side, right? So it's a give and a take with the body, right? Like I know players right now are playing through everything, and that's part of their job. That's part of what they do, and that's why they get paid the big bucks to do it, right? It just that if he can't feel confident to make the moves he normally makes, then you take a totally different step sometimes, right? Like, oh, I would normally explode off that leg, but now I'm gonna go to the other leg. Maybe that other leg is not as strong as my right leg. You know what I mean? So it just goes back and forth. Like you can get thrown off because of the injury, right? Now, this could be a situation where, hey, he maybe gets some medication to play, right? Like maybe he gets an injection to play, right? And he's able to deal with where it numbs it a little bit. He doesn't have as much pain and he's able to kind of play through that, right? Maybe they got the swelling out enough where it feels free to move and he's okay, right? Because it could be just, a couple days of pain and then all of a sudden now wakes up the next day, feels really good after a whole bunch of treatment throughout the last couple of days.
Yeah, I could see that. And I could see maybe it's like he comes back game 2, he's pretty strong, but then as his series kind of extends and goes longer, maybe it's one of these things where there's a little bit of wear and tear, or maybe it is where there's enough days in between games that he gets rest to be kind of like at almost full strength. So obviously we won't know until we get that final injury report and whatnot, but like I'm sure the odds are that he is going to play, and we'll just see obviously how effective he is. We do know that as we saw in game 1, the Rockets do need him, especially from an offensive standpoint.
For sure.
We'll see.
Yeah. I mean, I think it would be difficult for them to kind of get by without him. So it'll be interesting.
Yep.
Now, another big game tonight was the Hawks and the Knicks.
Absolutely.
And again, the road team won, tied up the series 1-1. But what the hell happened to the Knicks in the fourth quarter, Eric?
I know.
I swear, I looked at the score, I was watching the game, and then I went to go do something. I came back, and the Hawks were up. So what happened to these Knicks? And did the Knicks nick again? Because like it's almost like Clippers where they kind of do that thing where you have so much confidence in them, and then they lose the damn game that they shouldn't lose.
Yeah, there's a couple of things that happened in my opinion. It was like CJ McCollum, he kind of turned back the clock, right? And he had a real big game. And then the Knicks had like some similar games to like they had against Indiana last year, right? Against the Pacers.
Sure,
where it's like they have the games in hand and then they kind of win it. Albeit New York did a little bit of that against Boston. So they've been in some pretty crazy finishes the last few seasons, the Knicks, whether if it's in their favor or not. But I think, it just kind of fell asleep. I think they thought they had the game in hand. I personally thought they had the game in hand. I was like, okay, Atlanta's a nice story. They've been playing really good ball towards the end of the season. But a veteran team, a team that's kind of been there before, like the Knicks, are probably just going to handle business. And a big fourth quarter later, again, we have ourselves a series.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, CJ, I think he had, 24 in the first half or 21 in the first half. So he was on fire from the get-go.
Yeah, he kind of was all game, just really played well.
Yeah.
Kuminga, too, was decent.
The Knicks, for me, what it starts to boil down to is your best player is Jalen Brunson, right?
Yeah.
And can you win with a little guard? I'm not trying to say like size is the main thing, but just like when you think of all the teams that are loaded in the East and the West, right? I don't want to just always say size matters, but you go look at OKC, SGA 6'5", obviously all-world guard MVP. You go look at San Antonio, they got these big, just guard, like Stephen Castle, just super strong. You got Dylan Harper off the bench. You just got all these bigger guard profiles, right? Then you go on and on, right? You got Tatum and Brown in Boston, right? So my thing is when it comes down to the crunch, and yes, he can hit those big shots. Yes, he can always come through at the end. But defensively, he can be a liability, right? Against some of these better guards that are going against them. And then also just in general, right? You got Cat, who at times will play defense, but most of the time he's not the greatest defensive player as well, right? So you got two offensive players that don't play defense as well, and I think that's just part of their issue. And one of the things that concerns me kind of moving forward with them in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, history shows. I mean, it is a big man's league, right? And I don't mean big man as in like center, but kind of bigger in stature type players. I would say while we're discussing that, I'm thinking like probably the only team, with their best player being a small guard was probably Isaiah Thomas, with the Pistons. I can't really think of any other teams where the small guard is wins it for them,
Allen Iverson, but they didn't win a championship, right?
Yeah, they got there though. So
yeah, got there, but
I thought about that too.
Yeah.
But can Brunson win a game? Absolutely. Can he win multiple games? 100%. Can he win a series? Yes. But can he win 4 series just like that? So far, no. And doesn't mean he's not gonna come through in Atlanta and win a game. But I think that is definitely something that we'll just have to monitor as these playoffs go along. If they move on, they'll have Boston the next round. It's the same round they beat Boston last year. And so obviously we don't want to jump the gun. But that is a series probably we'd all want to see. But yeah, until he at least gets to the finals at this point in time, the answer is no.
Yeah, and Atlanta's a good team, man. Since they traded Trae Young, they have been one of the most dominant teams after that trade, right? They literally turned their season around after that trade.
Yeah.
They're young, they're athletic, they have a veteran presence in CJ McCollum now. And I just think, like, now the Knicks going to Atlanta, you're putting yourself in trouble. Like, you had this game in hand. They were up what? So they gave up, it was 28-15 in the fourth quarter by Atlanta, right? And lost by 1, right? So you're up by double digits going into the fourth quarter and you lose at home. Spike Lee is just, I mean, he's so used to losing that I would imagine he's just like, here we go again, right? So you don't want to put yourself in that situation, but they did. And now they're going to have to go to Atlanta and figure it out. And I would imagine they'll still be able to get a win down there or two. Yeah. But that gives Atlanta confidence. You now woke up Atlanta and said, yes, we can win. We can beat these guys. Like, we're there with them, right? So it'll be interesting kind of moving forward. If you guys in the chat right now in the YouTube or Twitter chat, let us know what you think about the series. What do you think about the Lakers, KD's injury? We'll jump in the chat. We'll kind of answer that at the end of the show. But we got one more game, Eric, that we can recap. It was the Raptors and Cavs. Do you have anything to say for that series, Eric?
Only one thing. So I don't know if their NBA TV have the games anymore. It doesn't seem like it, but this would be your NBA TV series. No disrespect. Remember those games like on NBA TV?
Oh my God! You remember like you'd be like,
now?
Did you remember you could guess which game it was going to be, and you'd be like, oh yeah, that's going to be on NBA TV, and you wouldn't be able to see it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's the Toronto Cleveland series. Cleveland is just no disrespect to Toronto. They're young. They're not going to be as good without Quickly. And Quickly has been a great player for them all season. And he's out with the hamstring injury.
Yeah, damn, another hamstring.
Yeah, it's like, man, we can name so many players right now with hamstring issues. But I just don't think they have the talent to really go with Cleveland. I mean, Cleveland, since James Harden, has been a pretty good team, and they've learned to kind of gel with them. Donovan Mitchell in the damn playoffs, he's averaging 28.5 in his career. He's had, like, God, I mean, every game he seems like he's going for at least 25 to 30, and he's in the playoffs, and he's just always been that dominant in the playoffs. So I think it's going to be difficult to beat. They've also, Cleveland has Toronto's number dating back to LeBron. We all remember those times, but they've won 11 in a row, or is it 12 after today against Toronto? So we remember how much LeBron dominated them in the Cavs. And that's kind of continued. So
I think it's Cleveland. They disappointed the last couple seasons. Maybe this time around, they're not. They're like, I guess, an East quote unquote favorite, but they're a 4 seed, and maybe they're kind of better off not being a top seed and kind of sneaking into the next round, right? Obviously, we'll see who they end up facing, but I think they should be able to handle business and maybe Maybe Toronto wins one in Toronto.
No, we don't have to talk about that. But
moving on.
My thing is when you look at the bracket, they lucked out being the fourth seed because we haven't been able to get in Detroit because we weren't on last night. I'll tell you what, man.
Detroit.
I loved Detroit last year. I wanted to root for him this year. I kept hearing people talk about, nope, nobody's putting Detroit in there. I'm like, ooh, they're disrespecting the 1 seed. I did not like what I saw out of Detroit. I mean, obviously they lost the game. But to be dominated by the Magic most of the game is, to me, when you finally got a home game, you're finally ready to go, and you continued the streak. I forget how many games it is now, but they've lost, I forgot what it was. It was dating back to so long ago, but they've lost so many games at home in the playoffs. And if I'm Cleveland, I'm like, hey, if I'm going to get Detroit in the second round, I think we could beat them, right? Like that's a matchup that they could probably tolerate better than, say, playing Boston or New York in the second round. Overall, I think Cleveland's kind of in a nice little position, especially if they go ahead and sweep Toronto and then allow their players to kind of rest and who knows what happens with the Detroit and Magic series.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like perfect storm where like Cade Cunningham, I think I'm sure he's not like himself completely right now.
Yeah, for sure.
There's that.
He's still at 39 though.
So. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I mean, in terms of the statistics, right? I mean, he definitely, I guess, did what he could. Yeah. But I just kind of defensively, right, and things like that, where they're kind of like OKC East, right, where they're just like hounding you, and I didn't see a lot of that as much. Also, and then like to my point on the perfect storm, and Orlando is kind of healthy now. A little healthier than they have been pretty much all season. And so I think it's going to be a tough 1-8. Obviously they lost their first game. Doesn't mean it's over. There's a lot of times that teams come back, but it just showed that there is maybe a little kind of kink in the armor there.
Yeah.
Detroit being a 1 seed, you got to just win game 2. Yeah. It's weird. I think against the Knicks last year, I think they lost all 3 home games, which is just strange.
Yeah.
Detroit
it's weird. That was so weird.
Yeah, so they won the 2. So so they're obviously on a losing streak at home. So they have to break that in game 2, or it's probably over.
Oh yeah. I mean, I see him coming out with it, but man, Jamal Mosley, coach of Orlando, goes from like likely being fired to being Charlotte to get the AC to winning the game 1, and then you're probably like, I guess maybe he kept his job, or you're gonna still fire him after this, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, they say if they're finally healthy and they go on a little run here. I mean, they were really good defensively last year. I remember.
Yeah, health matters, man. Like
it does.
I was actually, before we kind of get with the Lakers and Rockets preview, I was thinking about this today. Name the healthiest teams in the league right now in the playoffs.
I mean, Spurs definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Stand out. Thunder. I know Thunder had injuries, but they're pretty
healthy right now.
You could say Boston.
Those are the 3 best teams in the playoffs right now. Simple, right? Like and then you keep going from there, and it's like Denver has injuries, right? You got Payne Watson out. Aaron Gordon looks banged up still.
Yeah, he didn't look.
The Lakers have their 2 stars out. Houston, KD's out, right? So it's like you can go on and on with some of these players, but health matters, man. Like you got to be the healthiest going into the finals or going into the second round, third round, whatever it is. So it's huge moving forward.
Yeah, I know. Sometimes it's a battle of attrition, and I think we saw that last year with Indiana getting to the finals, and so
for sure.
And then game 7 they had a big injury and they lost game 7 potentially because of it. Yeah. So gotta knock on wood and be as healthy as you can.
100%. All right, so let's get into game 2 preview of the Lakers and Rockets, right? Yep. So obviously the Lakers got an unexpected kind of win, going into the series. You didn't think the Lakers really stood a chance, or at least the pundits didn't. Having KD out, obviously game 1 was huge, right? It kind of gave them maybe a little bit of confidence, a little momentum boost. But to keep that rolling for game 2, regardless if KD plays or if he doesn't play, What are the keys for the Lakers to win game 2?
I guess a couple things. I mean, I guess we'll have to see if it was an anomaly or not. With I think you guys talked about it, and I spoke about it when I jumped on. Obviously, we know that like Houston's going to get more offensive rebounds than the Lakers. That's not the gripe I would have, but you obviously can't be out rebounded or offensively rebounded 21-3, right?
No.
They give so many extra possessions to Houston, where they're not this great offensive team, so it's not as shocking that they didn't shoot the ball well, but I don't think they're going to shoot it as bad. So you got to limit those possessions, because in turn, Lakers, I mean, we know how this game works. Like they're at home, and so they're a little bit more comfy. So they might still have a decent shooting night, but it's not going to be. I think they started off game 1 like 14 for 17 or some kind of crazy clip like that, which is not going to happen. Not to say that they're still not going to get some decent shots, but I think cleaning up the turnovers, being very like the non-LeBron minutes, like really being strategic with that, and then just as much as possible. I don't even care if you were out rebounded offensively 18-10, right? But it just can't be 21-3. So those are some of the keys that I see, and obviously just a little bit more of the same in terms of their shooting of it, from beyond the arc.
Yeah, and that's just going to lead to second chance points, right? So if you're, getting 21 damn offensive rebounds to 3, you're going to put up more shots, right? So Houston put up, I mean,
they missed a lot of shots too. That's another.
I didn't get into this stat because they shot 38%, but do you know how many shots Houston had compared to the Lakers?
Yeah, I don't know the exact total, but I remember it was quite a bit.
93-66.
Damn.
So I mean, that's second chances. If you do that every damn game, you're going to score more points. Like they just got unlucky. They missed a lot of shots. They had a lot of opportunities, right?
Yeah.
You're not going to get a team that goes that bad in the second game. So that's what I'm worried about the Lakers. Cause like when you think about the totality of the game, they out rebounded you. You turned the ball over more than they did. And they shot like 30 more shots than you. Right. So eventually, if 10 of those shots fall, you lost the game.
Yeah.
By double digits. Right.
It's gonna catch up to you. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think they got to be really, really, they talked about it before in the practice week leading up to the game, is they got to be grown ass men and box out and get rebounds. And they didn't really do that in game 1, but they got away with it. So that's definitely a key for game 2. I think what they did, where LeBron got everybody involved, they have to continue that, right? Like Houston might try to play this game where they force LeBron to be more aggressive and try to be the scorer. They might want LeBron to get 30 because that means other guys are not getting involved. And if you don't have other guys getting involved, like DeAndre Ayton, if he's not involved in the game, we all know what happens. Right. He doesn't do anything. Right. Like he's just out there and all of a sudden you notice he has 5 points. Right. So Luke Kennard, obviously, he's a shooter. We're going to need that to step up, need him to step up again. And Rui playing the big minutes. But I think if the keys to success for the Lakers are LeBron being a facilitator and getting everybody involved, that has to go on again in game 2.
Yeah, I think like DeAndre Ayton is like one of those like few players where you could look at a stat sheet and you can kind of it tells you a story about his productivity, and I think you made the point that he's got to be involved and for him to feel like he's got his fingerprints on this game. Is not one of these like kind of guys like, oh man, he got like 2 points, but his ass was all over the place and he got 15 rebounds, right? So that being said, I think Lakers are going to have to force the issue in terms of LeBron being the distributor and facilitator, at least to start, and then obviously pick his spots. And again, like you mentioned, Houston could try to stop, quote unquote, the others and make it LeBron ball. And so I always felt like there was a game in the series that LeBron probably would have to do that, right?
Sure. Yeah, he'll try out a big game.
Yeah, and maybe that's game 2, right? Yeah. But that being said, there's some cleaning up the Lakers will need to do. obviously we know Lakers are shorthanded. Things are not going to be perfect. They got to win 4 games. They don't have to win 7. And a game like the game 1 was like kind of what they needed to win games. Let's be honest.
Yep.
Right. I think it was talked about, hey, got to have a game that Luke Kennard goes 5 for 5. Or
Yeah, I think you were saying that you're like, we need at least like 5 or 6 threes from Luke
yeah.
Kennard.
Right. And maybe that was the game. I don't know.
Yeah.
But, I think I mentioned it earlier in the show. If KD is not playing, it's definitely like anybody's game. If KD plays, it's going to be a little bit more kind of favored towards Houston. But we'll have to see because it also depends on how effective he is too.
Yeah, for sure. Now, if you had to make a prediction, do the Lakers win game 2?
I kind of, I'm leaning towards it being 2-2 after 4 games.
Yeah.
But I think each team wins 1 on the road. So I kind of leaning towards Houston. And the reason I say that is because I'm assuming Durant's going to play. I'm assuming they're going to be a little bit more desperate, although Lakers should be just as desperate because it's going to be hard to win in Houston. Yeah. Some of those shots that you're making always don't fall in on the road. So I'm kind of favoring Houston, but I think it's ultra important for the Lakers to win it. What about you?
Yeah, it's obviously largely dependent on KD, but assuming that he plays.
Yeah, if he doesn't, I like the Lakers. But if he does, then I like Houston.
Assuming that he plays, I feel like the Lakers understand the assignment and they know how important, again, these home games are, especially trying to extend the series or give your guys more break, Luka and AR, to come back.
Yeah.
I think they know they have to get this game. Because I feel like if they lose game 2, you go to Houston for that game 3, they win that as 2-1. The momentum has completely changed. And I mean like in a super bad way because likely Luka's not coming back, right? Like you're not too confident in that. And then when you go down 2-1, you'll start hearing all the rumors about, well, Luka's getting ready and, we got to have him back. Then going into game 4, hoping that Luka's maybe back by game 5, and that's not a good feeling to be in. So
being down 3-1,
they have to do everything they can to win game 2 so they're not in that situation. Because I feel like if they lose game 2, they're down 2-1. You may as well make it that, to be honest with you.
Yeah. It's going to be tough to win game 3 if they lose game 2. But yeah, I agree. They have to get one of the next 2. And the one to probably get would be the home game with a kind of iffy Kevin Durant. And then, we'll see what happens. Obviously, game 5 would be about 4 weeks from the Luka injury. I think a day shy of 4 weeks.
Sure.
We'll have to see. But we'll know a little in a little bit or a little later tomorrow. If Durant's going to play and kind of take it from there.
All righty. So we will be back on tomorrow night, probably late as hell, just like tonight, because NBC decides to put the games as late as possible.
Yep.
But regardless, we will be here and we'll be detailing the Lakers-Rockets game 2, as well as the other games in the league. But until then, the Hoops Rehab team is out. Peace out. Have a good night, y'all.
Peace out, everyone.